Hello YouTube. Today we'll be looking at the second character introduction for our crystal dragonborn, Danar, the so-called brains of the group, as described by our formal character introduction, Hardock. I apologize for the dripping in the background of the video. I'm attempting to resolve that audio issue. Thank you for watching anyways. I hope you enjoy. And if you do, share it with those you think might also enjoy it. Check out our shorts page if you want more quick, entertaining versions of these podcasts.
As the Norse sits, he can feel the fire radiating not only from the campfire he has started right in front of him, but his own soul. He opens his eyes to look out onto the lake that he has sat by, to see the calmness he has in his own body. As he goes to throw in some more leaves to let the fire grow a little bit more, he closes his eyes and thinks about everything that has happened to him and his party up to this point.
The crackling of the tinder in the fire slowly gives way to the clearing of a throat. And as your eyes peek open and a sigh escapes your chest, a face familiar to you appears within the fire. The one that's pestered you the last night.
So what do I owe the god of storytellings this evening?
Through seemingly tired eyes in the fire, he clears his throat one more time. I've just been piecing a few things together. Just a night before I had spoken with your orc friend, and I can't quite decide if he's crazy. I want to know more about you specifically, the dragon with the orange crystals. What do you have to offer?
A tale that begins as cold as ice, but roars to life with hope. It all started a good many years ago, when I was the age of 6. I was treated as I always was, an outcast to my tribe of dragonborns who lived in the mountains as nomads. Many of them saw me as a outcast, an anomaly, a bad omen, if you will, and in a clan full of dragonborns. Why does one have gems sprouting out of him? On this day, we came across an ancient ruin within the mountains. My father came across ancient texts with a language that they did not fully understand. My father touched the ruins themselves, the lettering, the writing, and at that point, he went into a trance, eyes glowing orange, as if the fire here was reflecting in his eyes. I do not truly know what he saw, but all I know is that day was the last day I spent in that clan. A few hours later, a blizzard was rolling in. My father came to from his comatose state, gathering a meeting of all the elders of the clan. After their meeting was done and words were said, I stood in front of them, being dragged from my bed, from my tent, from my so-called family. They treated me as if I was a monster. They looked at me with disgust. I heard murmurings of acceptance that I was truly a bad omen. My father looked at me and said in a very cold voice, colder than the winds themselves, "We must be rid of this demon before he can bring us all down with him." At that point, they dragged me to the edge of the camp and threw me to the snow. Nothing but the clothes on my back. At first, I tried to return, pleading with them to allow me back in, but then they pointed their weapons towards me. Upon seeing this and the disgust in all their eyes, the fear, I turned away and started to walk. It was a good many hours. I walked, barely being able to see my own hands in front of me as I reached out to see if there was anything around. Alas, I could not see my own feet, which led to a cliff face. One that I fell from. Danar will take a deep breath as the fire seemingly starts to raise up just a small bit. I do not know how long I was unconscious for, nor did I even know I was still alive. But it just so happened that there was passerby. They took me in, cared for me, taught me their ways, acted as if I was their own child. Something that I had not felt in a very long time was belonging, acceptance, and loved. They taught me about their culture, who they were, and the grand stature they held to history, their own and others. So, to show my new families and saviors my appreciation, I did my best to learn their history. It was a rather big one.
Natives to this continent.
Mm, very much so.
A far
And
cry from the story the orcish friend tells.
oh yes, I believe I hold no candlelight to his shadow, nor to my own families, my own adoptive family, that is, though their shadow can be seen far and wide. For many years I studied, for many years I found myself wanting to know more about them and other mythical creatures. My previous family, my clan, were fascinated with the dragons themselves, seeing some of them as lords. I held no anger toward the dragon lords, as the tribe would call them, but part of me thinks that perhaps it was their doing that my family thought this. my clan. After so many years, it's still hard not to call them family. When I was about 16, I went to the town Morrow to study under some of the beings that were related to my family. They were sent down there to learn trade, help with construction efforts. While down there, me and many of my siblings decided to explore that day. We were roaming the forests near Morrow when we came across ancient gear, skeletons, and a cave. Now, for kids, we were pretty dumb. May downright say idiotic. Or, we were brave. Too brave. Or maybe the mixture of the both. But, instead of turning back and going back home, we decided to explore more. Look around, act as if we were small adventurers with the gear that we pulled up. It was nice. Until we found out what created these skeletons. A hiss could be heard. This beast. We all felt the terrifying gaze, but only one of us met it. My brother. He met its gaze as it was coming out of the cave. The multi-legged beast that it was. Its eyes. I may not have been its target, but I will never forget what those eyes looked like. I've seen them many times before. Well, not before that point, but in general. A basilisk. A creature that could turn anyone that met its gaze to stone. A creature that shares a similar ability with a gorgon. My brother felt this terror. So much so, he felt stone cold. Slowly it began with his legs, and it slowly crept up his body. Thankfully, he was tough enough to keep the curse at bay just a little longer than most. I stood there watching someone I called family starting to die. And all I could think of was trying to help him. Anything to stop this from happening. And I felt it for the first time. A burn from within. A small flame lit. It was not much, but it was the spark that set this fire that I am now today. I had enough courage to grab a great axe, the same great axe I have now. I started running towards the creature. Running. Going farther apart. My vision growing higher. It seemed I held a power within me. One that could bring me to great heights. I raised up this axe. An axe of someone who fell before, an axe that could not meet its mark until that day. Before the creature could start to petrify me, I brought the axe down upon its neck. I do not know why it was so easy. In that instant, I took off its head in that one fell swoop. After the creature was killed, we got my brother to safety. Though we were able to take away the effects, he would continue to have the scars of that day. And so would I. After my family found out what happened, they started teaching me the way of this new power. They taught me that a controlled flame is better than a raging inferno. After a few more years of training, researching, and learning, I started my journey. My journey led me to Gordon, where I would meet and form this party.
Well,
Yes.
I can tell that you may need some more time here by yourself. Enjoy the starlight while you can. It's still beautiful. And as long as they're there, there'll always be hope. And a new horizon just waiting for the sun to rise.
Yes. And no matter what's on that new horizon, I do hope that we'll be there to help those that need us.
The low chuckle in the fire slowly drowns away into the pops of the tinder again, leaving you once again alone.
Before the fire completely fades, Danar will look down, thinking about his past once more, and say to himself, how many have there been? How many others were like me?